Hey guys, Omni here. Just watched The Devil All the Time, the new movie starring Tom Holland, Bill Skarsgård, Riley Keough, Jason Clarke, Robert Pattinson, and Sebastian Stan. This movie was directed by Antonio Campos, who also wrote the screenplay along with Paulo Campos, and this is based on a book by the same name, which was written by Donald Ray Polluck, who is also the narrator of the film, which was a really interesting thing to see once I got to the credits of this. But this movie it's labeled as a psychological thriller, but it definitely has some gothic, I would say some southern gothic horror vibes to it, in the way that it approaches the psychology of this, the visual imagery of this. This is a very much a movie that explores just pretty much human suffering in the name of God. There's a lot of religious elements to this, and what people, the extents and the harm that people bring upon themselves, their own lives, for their dedication to this spirituality. And it really creates a really bleak, twisted, and depressing kind of journey to go along with. But it's so intoxicatingly hypnotic in the way that it pulls you in. It's very deliberately paced. It takes its time with a lot of elements. I mean, Tom Holland, his character is in a majority of the movie, but he himself doesn't come in until about the 40 something minute mark. It's it takes its time to build these characters and these relationships and this just kind of like domino effect of all of these events that kind of spawn from the opening of this movie. There's a lot of Christian symbology that's used in this. There's a lot of elements, of course, of the Southern Baptist religion that this kind of is based on. Of course, that's where the author kind of stems this all out of, and some areas that are real places too. Aside from it takes place between two different areas: Knock'em Ohio, and Coal Creek, West Virginia, which for all intents and purposes, I could not find it on a map. Knock'em is a place, and you can find it. However, if this place, at least when it was referenced originally in West Virginia, I could not for the life of me find it. And I'm from there. And I was like, I recognize a lot of the things and places and that are mentioned, and I'm just like, okay. Anyway, that doesn't matter. This movie, honestly, it took me a while to talk about. I actually watched it, what, 2 nights ago now, and honestly, afterwards, and it's not the most like visually haunting, horrific thing that I've seen. This isn't like going to Clive Barker your mind or anything like that. It's not in that. It doesn't. It's not very dreary or mind numbing in that kind of way, or overstimulating it rather than numbing. Sorry, that's the wrong choice of words there. It's not going to overload you in any of those kind of ways. It is just relentlessly daunting in the way that there's just a lot of tragedy that befalls a lot of these characters, and a lot of it is self-inflicted aside from a few core characters. We follow a bunch of different storylines that eventually intersect, and we don't really we're not really getting the relationships until it kind of comes towards a little bit closer to the end. But everything that you're seeing does eventually connect, um, which makes the story again a little disjointed up until everything kind of comes together and starts to click. There's separate stories. The pacing is kind of unique. The way that the film is actually structured, there's some bouncing around that happens from actual time. So sometimes you don't know when and where some of these things are taking place. And it keeps you on your toes a lot of times. And the narration, in a lot of ways, I thought actually accentuated a lot of the moments and elevated a lot of the emotional beats in this as well, providing additional context and kind of presenting it in this way. And like it's this retelling, this like recounting of these events, like these events were fact. It just feels so real. And I know people like this. I've grown up around people like this. And it's very relatable to kind of see how these relationships and how this can go awry. The performances in this, like, it's hard to say what one person stole the show in this, because anytime one of these actors, actresses were on screen, they commanded the screen. I can't say that. I think the best scenes are when some of these characters get in the same room together, because that's when the magic happens. But every time they're alone, they are always the ones taking up all of the screen time, man. It is beautiful. It is real. These characters feel lived in. They feel like they have a history, and these actors are embodying it and bringing it to life. It was honestly some of the best performances I've seen this year. I think that the only thing that kind of compares that is Elizabeth Moss in The Invisible Man. I think that's one of the best performances I've seen this year so far, and I feel like a lot of these can be kind of put up on that same kind of pedestal. Now, a lot of the actors in this, pretty much most of our main cast, of course, is not from this region, and they surprisingly enough do a really great job at pulling off these accents and like really kind of giving themselves into this world, this region, this dialect, this culture, and it just brings it all to life. This movie it doesn't really hold back from some of the harsh realities of life, some of the, the struggles that people go through, especially in this time, because this movie takes place in a post World War II era America in the southern states. Well, I'd say southern, but like middle southern. And it just really shows like the life, the struggle, the attachment to religion and spirituality to get through these times and to explain everything that's happening to them, and then in the same way how that brings about some of the pain that is brought upon themselves throughout this journey. It's not going to be a feel good movie by any stretch of the imagination. It's not perfect, but it is fantastic. I really enjoyed it. It was really fun to watch. Well, I say fun. It was really it was really investing to watch. Um I wouldn't even say like, cuz I know I've heard some people talk about how some of the storylines, some of the separate characters maybe could have been cut out and maybe the film could have been a little bit tighter. Again, this is how it kind of played out in the book from my understanding. So I mean, it is a fairly faithful adaptation. But honestly, I thought it created some variation in it. I thought it gave you a little bit of a break to see these different types of characters, these different activities that are going on. And then when it all starts to kind of the puzzle pieces start to kind of fall into place, I thought it all came together rather well. The sound design in this is amazing. The cinematography is amazing. I really like the editing and the pacing and just the overall direction and performances. I thought this was a really stellar movie. It's not, again, this isn't going to be a movie you want to watch if you wanted to just pop some popcorn in your mouth. This is going to be something that really kind of really challenges your resolve. It's going to maybe challenge your beliefs a little bit. And it's a lot of fun. It definitely left me thinking for a lot of the night. And honestly, I had to work the following day and I didn't get any sleep. There's something about this movie that like it just lingered in my mind throughout the rest of the night after I watched it. And a lot of it probably had to do with the way I was raised, because I was really kind of raised in this type of setting with these types of ideas, these types of elements, and just kind of having that reflected back, it really just kind of like hit me, and it left me like pondering a lot of these questions into the night. Ended up having to take an extra long nap the next day just because I could not sleep, man. And maybe it's just because this personally hit me in a different way. Like I said, it's not like visceral in the way that it's like some gore fest or violence for violence's sake. It's not like this. It's all to a point. It's all to prove a point. It's all to get this message across in the film, and it all is relevant. It's not gratuitous, it's not over the top. It's exactly what is needed for the story that they're telling and the idea that they're getting across. I do recommend the movie. Again, don't go into this expecting, because I don't know how somebody got this impression. Not going to say who, but they saw the trailer, and I guess because Tom Holland was in this, they thought this was just going to be a dark comedy. And I was like, nope, hell no, it is not. So I'd love to know your thoughts. If you've seen this movie, if you've checked it out, let me know. Sound off in the comments. We'll carry on the conversation after the video. But that's all I've got today, guys, and I will catch you guys in the next video. Take care, everybody.